This is fully assembled now and it's ready to run. I have dual rates set up, 2 drive modes. So that's my full amount of steering. And then I have a reduced rate. We'll have to test it, see how that goes. When wrapping up a build, at the end it goes fairly quick, especially since I had pre-fitted everything. All the servo mount, motor mount, and the outboard mounting, that was already done ahead of time. I got everything sealed now. 1 coat of thin sealer on every surface. Then it was a matter of opening this hole up and putting in the stuffing tube, actually mounting the motor, getting my height set, and I did go with stumble blocks, and I've put the shear webbing, the balsa wood shear webbing on the bottom and the top, which, like Dr. Jet says, it's going to give added flotation when you look at that thickness of the center section. And I've set it a few times during this build, given Dr. Jet his flowers. This is a cool little boat. Micro, who would have thought? And then obviously when you get immersed in the build, you get close to the design from building it and putting the time in, the effort to build a nice model. I like that. That is super cool. Very nice job on this design, Dr. Jet. I would give this high marks as far as the appeal. Simplicity of the design, and yet the performance potential that I see from Dr. Jet running his and Big B from Ironclad RC running his. I can't wait to put this on the water and start testing it. The hot pond is open in town, so I'll be able to at least get a maiden in and run this a little bit, but not today. We got 10 to 15 mile per hour northwest winds, bad wind direction. But in the meantime, let's take a look at what I got going on here. So I have a magnet on the back here to keep the hull on, or the cowling on. So let's look at what I got in here. So there is a magnet embedded in the back of the cowling. Then I have this magnet on a spruce double layer laminated 2-piece of spruce at just the right height right there. It's actually 3/4 inch from here to here. And let's talk about this for starters. By building this structure here, these layers in the cowling 3/4 inch up, and it's any reason not to give myself some room in here for the electronics. Why commit to having everything all tightly fit in by building the cowling right off of this surface here and then doing cutouts? So I got a lot of room. The wiring actually keeps everything located in place. That would be the ESC and the receiver. And then just lay them down slide the cowling on and keeping everything in place. It just traps all the electronics as far as the ESC and the receiver goes, right in place, laying on top of the battery. So that's my setup on the inside for the electronics. I have my center of gravity, a little mark right here temporarily. That is 35% up from the back of the transom. So take 13 inches, divide it by 0.35, or multiply it by 0.35. That measurement is 4 inches, 550 thou. Almost 4 9/16. So to get the center of gravity there, I have the ESC all the way back, so it's just setting in front of the servo tray. And I have a 850 milliamp hour battery pack. It's tattoo, 45C discharge, no, 800 milliamp hour pack. And I have it also just in front of the servo tray. So this is a very small, lightweight battery. That's where I had to locate the battery and the ESC. I don't think the receiver is enough weight to talk about, but that's where I had to locate the electronics with this motor to get 35% center of gravity location from the back of the transom. Take a look inside at some more of the details of the build. This motor has a 2.3 millimeter shaft. So I could not find a collet style coupler for that shaft. So I found this on Amazon. It's a 2.3 to 2.3 millimeter coupler with set screws, 180 degrees apart. So I mic'd the 098 flex cable, and it actually mics 94 thousandths. So I drilled halfway into this coupler with a 3/32 drill. It's 094 thou. It's a perfect fit. Put it in my lathe, runs nice and true. And I also have a 1/8 inch wheel collar on here for a prop saver. I am running a liner inside the stuffing tube, and I went with an aluminum stuffing tube. And my reasoning for that is when I change the height of the outboard motor, change the prop shaft centerline height, I'll be able to more easily flex the aluminum tubing to keep it a straight shot on the prop shaft angle. I've tested it full throttle, turning it left and right, and no issues with the strength of the aluminum stuffing tube. The next thing to look at is this micro servo. So I'd stated previously, this is actually 21 inch-ounce servo. It's not a cheap servo. It's like a $40 servo, metal gear. So no issues as far as the strength of the servo. It's actually stronger than most of your standard micro servos. So that's working out nice. Got my pull cable system, and also just another added benefit of running it upright. No issues putting the servo in and running the cables into these little clevises here. So these have the nylon keepers underneath, set screw on top. Very simple to set it up and adjust your zero positioning on the pull cable system. Let's take a look at the all-up weight of the model. This will be with the LiPo in it. So 372 grams. This is ready to run. I have one coat of thin sealer on every surface inside and out. So we still have the weight of the paint to add to that. That's the TunnelJet ready to run. And here's a look at my collection to date of tiny boats. I also have the mini 17-inch unlimited hydroplane, Atlas Van Lines livery. So that, alongside of the micro 13-inch TunnelJet. My opinion, pretty impressive collection of designs from the fertile mind of Dr. Jet. Now it's a matter of the maiden, like I said, and color. I have not given much thought to the color scheme, what color, and as far as the layout, I'll probably do something semi-sport scale for sure. Take a look at some pictures online of the F1 tunnel halls, and then between looking at the pictures, come up with a color scheme to do right by this gorgeous little design. I'll leave you with this. In music and art, the saying is that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And I think it also applies to design and engineering. There's the tried and the true. There's LAR, looks about right engineering. And it usually never fails. So, looking at this design, the information that I've talked about that I got from this Zip Kits manual, this isn't my information. Don't want to act like a know-it-all, but I do like to share information that has given me more success. And I'd like to see others apply the same information and have success. I enjoy sharing information. So I remember building this G30 and thinking, man, these sponsons are so small and low to the water. There's not much of a rise to the sponsons. And this TunnelJet, it's the same thing, right? Not a big ride area, low slung to the water, very narrow profile. So why wouldn't what Zip Kits has worked out with the G30 apply to this? I believe it will. I'll have to find out when I test run my model. So we'll see. But he talks about in this manual, him and his team, and he's got a really good team of guys that test models for him and also compete and have set world records. And until they came up with the design on the stumble blocks, they were having issues with this hull. And also, I referred to the setup instructions back here, setup tips. And Joe is the kind of guy where he'll say something, right? He'll spit facts, and you can take it or leave it. And I think it's very important when you hear good information that you apply it and learn the value of it for yourself. So the setup on this G30, I followed these setup tips, and it has worked out. This is a sweet running tunnel haul, outboard tunnel haul. That's what I'm doing with this. This isn't know-it-all stuff on my part. This is just sharing information that has worked for me. I remember Joe Petro commenting on my Offshore Electrics forum when I was testing and tuning my JE33. And he commented on the curved turn fin. And he said it was the most critical adjustment, and it would give you the most speed. That being the curved turn fin acts like a hydrofoil. So he said he's seen as much as 20 mile an hour difference increase in speed. You get that setting right, what happens is, due to the torque of the motor and the hydrofoil effect, it climbs up on the turn fin, lifts the left or the right side of the boat, and then the torque lifts the left side, levels out, catches some air. Very sensitive setting, but a lot of guys are talking about taking it off. Yeah, that works, and there's guys that went real fast with that, but I remember breaking 100 and then eventually getting all the way up to 122 mile an hour with the curved turn fin. A lot of guys said, take it off. So I put a lot of value in Joe Petro and Zip Kit's setup information. He has a setup gauge, and this on the G30 sets flat against the bottom of the tunnel. And he has marks on here for setting the height of the center line of the prop shaft. So I've copied that, right? He talks about the center of gravity. Pretty much set it here. Set it and forget it. So it's a combination and they all work together. In no case has he ran the center line of the prop shaft below the bottom of the sponsons. That would be too loose, uncontrollable. And also, I think the center of gravity is critical for the hull to naturally ride up on its own. I'm not talking about on the stumble blocks. I'm talking about at your higher speeds. There is a inclined angle after you get past the ride pads, and you're also trapping air. So he talks about setting the prop shaft level and leaving it. And now it's a matter of how loose or wet you want the boat. So prop shaft angle, level, center of gravity, and let the boat, the hull, naturally do its thing. The stumble blocks are slowing down into the corners and coming out of the corners. They're like a non-trip surface. The front of these sponsons, the area is so small without the stumble blocks, it dives in or struggles to come out of the turns. So what I've done is, looks about right engineering. I've made my stumble blocks roughly by eyeball the size and the location as the Zip Kit's G30. So these are 2 inches by 3/4, and I have them set a 1/2 inch back. And you look underneath the G30, very similar, proportion-wise, still gives the airflow underneath. And then the last thing is the center of gravity. I have a small battery, 800 milliamp hour LiPo, have it all the way back, have an ESC all the way back. That only gets me 35% up from the back of the transom. This is slightly less than 30. It's a 30-inch boat, it's 9 inches up. And it runs beautiful. Why would this not perform similar, right? So when I share stuff like that, it's only in the interest of helping. I love Big B from Ironclad RC. I watch his videos. He figures stuff out his way. Sure enough. And I'm not knocking that. Like, he's doing his thing, and I respect that. But also, there's a lot of stuff I don't think you have to guess at. Tried and true. Imitation. The sincerest form of flattery. So, I'll find out when I run it. That will be the proof in the pudding.